All right, I would like to call this meeting to order. The time is 11:37. I'd like to invite our interpreter to start. And we also have Spanish interpretation available. And I would just remind the commissioners during roll call that if you're participating virtually, cameras have to be on to be present for the meeting. So thank you for that. Go ahead with our roll call.
Commissioner Bella Wilson.
Present.
Commissioner Abraham.
Present.
Commissioner Alanis.
Here.
Commissioner Davila.
Here.
Commissioner Ibarra Escalera.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Redmond.
Here.
Commissioner Redmond. Oh, she's on camera. Thank you. Commissioner Recrejo.
Here.
And Commissioner Reyes.
I was running a little bit late today. Feel quorum.
All right, thank you. So we'll start with our agenda for today. Okay, great. So we'll start with our public comment. Item 1 is approval of prior meeting minutes. Item 2, we'll go through our public engagement and outreach appointments. Item 3, dashboard and annual report committee appointments. Item 4, homeowners maintenance classes. Item 5, we'll have a presentation on wages and economic development and a discussion. And then item 6, our director's report. Next, we'll move to public comment. We'll start with our public comment protocols.
Just a quick reminder for the public, anyone who's here to speak, that comments are limited to agenda items. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, or up to 9 for groups, and there will be a little timer that appears on the screen for you. Comments should be presented to the commission, not individual commissioners. And a reminder as well that commissioners cannot respond to the comments. They can only listen to them. If folks who are listening need to speak with staff for some technical assistance, there's a phone number on the screen. It is 210-207-7950. Thank you.
Thank you. So it looks like we do not have anyone signed up for a written or voicemail comment, but we do have one in-person public comment. Is that correct?
Yes, and also Commissioner Redmond has her hand raised.
Okay, Commissioner Redmond. We'll keep moving forward. So first we'll start with our single public comment today is Nina Gallegos. If you'd like to come and address the commission.
But it's stand up for here. You can put the podium. Sorry about that. Hi everybody, my name is Nina Gallegos. Hi, my name is Nina Gallegos. I just wrote a little something that I feel just came to my heart from after reading Ms. Laura Salinez's bio. I felt really empowered. There's times when I look at my Westside community and I lose hope in ever seeing like true self-sufficiency, or like seeing my friends just back at me for hope without a plan. It kind of makes you lose hope. After reading all of what she's done for the community, it really brought me to what I wrote. It says, non-committed mentality will have it fight or fall for any pain. We grow weary of all movement and possibly make unnecessary movement that wastes precious energy. Timed at 3 minutes and 6 to 12 rounds, the days of non-commitment show the first and second round. And the non-committed fighter doesn't go the distance because of the lack of knowledge on how to set up a proper combination, slip pivot, or slow moving. I know because I was that fighter. I learned that while I was out talking the fight talk of a sailor. My opponent was doing the basics. At age 11, I was beating my opponent in amateur fights. By the time I was 27, I had been married with 3 kids and divorced. I I wound up home in this campsite, did a segment called Local Boxing Mama. I spent my life on survivor mode, so I got into fight, so I can take a punch. At the time, my car had been stolen. My ex-husband was a cop to New York, and my lights got shut off. I had enough anger to need boxing, but for the past 5 years I didn't box. I was a daughter, and today I stand as an 0-9 pro fighter, divorced with my children in foster care. I can tell you how much time I wasted fighting the wrong fight, or I can commit myself to this community, learn from the real San Antonio fighters, and help break the non-committed mentality of the underrepresented areas. I will fight on 15 for a boxing win. With that being said, 2 years should be interesting, committed to this program. I don't stand proud of my record or my series of unfortunate events. I stand proud of who I stand before and hope to make sense of this philosophy I came up with. I was underrepresented as a fighter with no background in boxing, but I fought in different states, met the Mayweather team, met the female world champion of the world, and it was all because I was halfway to here for creating. Can you imagine how many fighters who have their lights shut off, got an eviction notice, and not the opportunity to fight back at adversity? That's who I was and who I want to connect with. I thank you for the wrongs each of you fought to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
Just a moment to troubleshoot audio for our commissioners that are on.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem. Take a brief pause.
Inside. Okay, here. Let's go around this corner. This is when we need like hold music, something jaunty.
Would y'all like me to sing?
Yeah. That would be great.
Not that everybody said yes. I say yes to you.
You weren't expecting that, yes, were you?
I was not.
Yeah.
And there was no hesitation.
Not at all. Not at all.
That happened when we get to your
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
Is everybody feeling all right today? Yes. Your smiles are
Your entry 6.
Thank you all for your patience.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
While we're waiting, the leaders need snacks or water, or restroom.
Your entry is not active when the meeting has not started yet. Re-enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
And Katie, I think we might want to switch items 4 and 5 since our panel is already in position. Okay, so we'll take y'all first.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound. Your entry is not active when the meeting has not started yet.
Let's be ready to approve those.
Good question. How's it going?
I need to just move. Situation when those technology issues come up. Okay, so we will continue on with our meeting, our full agenda. We'll start with item 1, approval of the minutes from the San Antonio Housing Commission meeting that was last month on August 23rd. Move to approve?
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll slow down a bit, but I think the motion passes for the prior meeting minutes. Moving on to our subcommittee appointments. Item 2, briefing and possible action related to the public engagement and outreach or PEO subcommittee appointments. Single name, thank you. Just don't mess it up. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Oh.
Hello. And Commissioner Davila, can you hear me?
Barely.
I think you'll have to
Hold it.
get real close.
How about now?
Yeah.
Great. My name is Simone Diaz-Sanchez. I'm the Community Engagement Administrator for NHSD, and I will be presenting about the Public Engagement and Outreach Subcommittee. It was formed in May of 2021 before I had joined the staff here, and we had an application open out. I'm sure some of the commissioners remember the vote to approve the application, which is a little lengthier of a vote, but it did include some really important questions in the application. So the goal of the subcommittee is to really make sure that we are engaging with the community at within all of the different ways you can engage, right? It's not just about providing information, it's how are we actually making sure that our services and our programs are reflective of community needs subcommittee assists with that. So they oversee the public engagement that we do at the department and are really helpful in making us better. As the community engagement administrator, I deeply appreciate this subcommittee, and I do staff it with the policy team. So there are 4 commissioners and 5 non-commissioners appointed to this subcommittee, and they will have staggered 2-year terms. Too fast. Okay, yeah. So there was an application that was opened up for 1 month this summer. 14 complete applications were submitted. Commissioners met to review the eligibility and geographic location and community representation within each one of the applicants. I want to recognize the commissioners that are currently on the subcommittee. Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Davila, and Commissioner Abraham all met and reviewed the applications and selected 5 for Housing Commission consideration. Thank you so much. We have the benefit of introducing the community members who are here today. So I'm going to read a little bit about them, but I first want to just touch on the application questions that were approved. They were not eligibility requirements, but they were added to the application. And we asked the members to really think about how they were going to be engaging with communities, describe how their educational, volunteer, professional community service would be able to connect communities to services. We also asked that they share their reason for seeking the volunteer position, what impact they were hoping to have while serving on the subcommittee, what experience they do have currently reaching communities without internet access, and 3 ways that they would suggest that this subcommittee be engaged with the public. And so it was really helpful to review those responses. Those were not previously on the application, and I think it yielded quite a bit of conversation within the housing commissioners who reviewed them. So first I'm going to just go through, we'll talk about Melanie Cawthon. There are the first 2 members, Melanie Cawthon and Laura Salinas Martinez, are currently on the Public Engagement and Outreach Subcommittee, did reapply, and are here with us today. Melanie Cawthon is the co-founder and director of Disability SA with more than 23 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. Her work is largely focused on ensuring those with disabilities are fully integrated into community through 6 key areas: housing, employment, education, healthcare, transportation, and socialization. Through her participation in the subcommittee, she has committed to helping make information and resources more accessible and readily available for the chronically underserved disabled population. So thank you, Melanie, so much for being here. Laura Salinas Martinez is the Operations Support Director at the National Development Council. She has worked as a housing counselor, homeownership program coordinator, realtor, and has contributed to housing policy and programs. Her personal experience has informed her commitment to affordable housing and generational wealth building. Really want to thank you and everyone who shared a lot of really personal and emotional experiences with housing. She has built a career in community care through development, and I really look forward to having her and everyone continue to push NHSD and our housing efforts for outreach and strategies. New members who were not previously on the subcommittee are Michael Miller, Nina Gallegos, and Alberta Harris. Nina Gallegos, all 5 again are here with us today, is a San Antonio fitness coach dedicated to public engagement. You heard her during public comment. Nina shared her experiences with housing stability and community support needs in her application. She wants to be a part of the positive growth in this county and believes public engagement, when done with compassion, can make a difference. I look forward to learning from her in door-to-door action, as she mentioned in her application. Miss Alberta Harris is also here with us today. Thank you for being here. Is a caregiver, a retired parent engagement specialist, where she worked with the Eastside Education and Training Center and Eastside United Way. She has over 15 years of experience working with SAISD and loves helping people. She shared in her application that she was a first-time homebuyer recipient in 1996 through another program. Currently still lives there. She is committed to meeting new people, attending community events, and sharing input with the community. Mike Miller is also here with us today. He is the lead pastor at Breaking Ministries. and have an impact on housing security in San Antonio. So really, really, really excited for all of them to join. I also want to recognize Crystal, who I know is a part of the vote, Commissioner Leguejo, who is also going to be appointed as part of this vote, but did not need to submit an application. I want to make sure that that's clear. Next slide. Thank you. So the staff recommendation that we're putting before you is to recommend the Housing Commission appoint commissioners Johnson, Abraham, Davila, Mike Miller, and Nina Gallegos for a term of office to expire in September of 2025, and Commissioner Reguejo, Melanie Coffin, Laura Salinas Martinez, and Alberta Harris for a term of office to expire in September of 2024. The suggested motion is listed on the slide, and I'll put in for questions.
Thank you, and I just wanted to say we're so excited, the work we have ahead, and this is such great timing to join these subcommittees because we'll be having our retreat to do our strategic plan, our strategic work plan through the next year, next month, and so if appointed today, you'll be receiving a survey to get your input on your vision and your goals within your subcommittee and for the commission for us to review at that retreat, so it's a really great time to join. Commissioner Abraham?
I'm the chairman of the PEO subcommittee, and sometimes I feel like I'm more of a figurehead because of the people at NHSD doing such thorough and complete work, particularly Stephenay and Maribel. And that, as you see, I've got a page full of notes here that I think she hit on everything here. I probably shouldn't have said what I said earlier, is that I'm a figurehead because you're voting on me too here today. But anyways, I hope you approve me, and I ask that you do make the motion to approve these people. We've all worked long and hard. The application process was very in-depth from what it used to be. It was approved by this Housing Commission. It brought out a lot of personal situations and experiences out there, and therefore that's how we judged and brought forward these great candidates. And I'd like to say about Nina here too. I've seen her overhand right, so don't mess with that. Anyway, so thank you for giving me a little time here.
Any other comments?
I would like to make one, that's okay. Good morning, everyone. So, of course, I would love to be renominated or elected. I don't even know what the terminology is because I thoroughly enjoy serving our city. But the people that we have also elected along with me are amazing. I've had the opportunity to know and work with Melanie on another subcommittee as well. But she's so instrumental on the PEO as well as Ms. Laura. The other candidates that we have are such amazing people, as you heard from one today who gave a wonderful speech with Pastor Mike. From the moment he was like, how can I get connected? He's been connected. He's been at so many different subcommittee meetings, and he's really working hard to serve this city as well as the other people that are elected. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to appoint the commissioners and non-housing commission representatives to the Public Engagement and Outreach Subcommittee for the terms of lengths as recommended by staff.
Looking at who can make a second, that's not...
We can make one.
A second? Thank you. All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Have you all recused yourselves? No. Then there's no need to recuse yourselves.
No.
So you can vote.
We can vote for them as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to be people. Aye.
Caught me off guard. I'm like, did we have recused?
And I have none opposed. So the motion passes. Congratulations. Welcome. It's going to be an exciting year, and hearing about all of your experiences and bringing that all together into one vision for housing, I'm very excited about that. So next we'll move on to item 3, briefing and possible action for the dashboard and annual report or DAR subcommittee appointments. Sarah.
Thanks, Katie. All right, so this subcommittee, just a quick way of background, also formed in 2021. It was a busy year for the commission. And their role is specifically fulfilling the commission's charge to help report out progress on the SHIP and other housing-related initiatives to the public. So that's a charge that's not only within the SHIP itself, but also actually in the ordinance that creates this body. So it's really important work, and this body has done a great job at putting it together. So we are making reappointments today for Commissioner Alaniz, Commissioner Horn, and Commissioner Redmond, and also staggering their terms. At the original time where we created the subcommittee, we had their terms expire in September. But that's not a great time in the sort of life cycle of the annual report, so we're proposing that they bump to February, and then we'll continue to stagger those. So this is a committee that I'll just share also, unlike our other subcommittees, is a non-public meeting. Their work goes out to the public. They lean on the other subcommittees for that public engagement. But in our spaces, we're just looking to put together the documents themselves for review. So we've got a staff recommendation to go ahead and make those appointments. We would ask that Commissioners Horn and Redmond have terms that expire in February 2026, and Commissioner Alaniz has his expiring in February 2025 for the Dashboard Annual Report Subcommittee, and their suggested motion language on the screen.
Great, thank you. Any comments from the commissioners?
Nope, just happy to serve, and I think everybody else was pretty happy to continue serving. So.
Entertain a motion.
I move to appoint the commissioners to the Dashboard Annual Report Committee for their terms as the terms and dates recommended by the staff.
I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Welcome. Thank you for the work you do. Okay, we're going to take our next couple of items out of order. We're going to go next to what is now item 4, discussion on wages and economic growth in San Antonio with Mike Ramsey and a panel of special guests. And just kind of making a note here, it's 12:05 to make sure we have time for the remaining 2 items. We'll wrap up about 12:45.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for having us. I'm excited to be here for a great conversation with some phenomenal individuals. And missing from that slide of panelists is Ms. Andrea Costas with University Health, representing the healthcare sector. My apologies for not getting your information to you all in a timely manner. But thank you all for having us here. The purpose of this discussion is for us to provide an overview and landscape of 4 key industries: education, manufacturing, construction, and healthcare. And we're going to give you some takeaways to walk away with, a better understanding of where we were versus where we're going here in San Antonio as it relates to workforce development and how that impacts our community, challenges and best practices being used in each of these industries represented today, and how workforce development is connected to housing. So we know we're short on time, so we're going to jump right on in. So for each of our panelists here today, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your role, your organization, and how your industry has changed over the last couple of generations. And Andrea, we'll start with you.
Sure. So I'm Andrea Costas. I've been with, there you go, thank you. I'm Andrea Costas. I've been with University Health for 28 years. Started last year. And so we've seen significant growth, obviously, in the healthcare industry. And University Health, many of you know, in San Antonio, we started in 1917 with the Robert E. Greene Hospital downtown. And we've grown to around 10,000 employees. We have a major premier teaching hospital. We're about to open the Women and Children's Hospital. I don't know if any of you were able to make it to our grand opening.
And we have 25 outpatient clinics throughout San Antonio, 3 Express Med walk-in clinics, 5 school-based health centers, and I could go on and on. So it's just the growth to meet, of course, the growth of San Antonio and to serve as a safety net healthcare system.
Thank you, Andrea. Albert?
Hello, good afternoon. It's afternoon. I'm Allie Perez. I am the founder of Texas Women in Trades. I also run a plumbing company here in San Antonio called George Plumbing, Yell for George. And I started Texas Women in Trades about 10 years ago because I noticed I was almost always the only woman in the room, the only brown person, and the only person under 40. And while I am fast approaching that 40, I find that I love my industry. I love the construction industry. I love being in it. And I don't think as an industry we do a very good job marketing ourselves. So marketing is truly my trade and what I hope to bring to the table there. How has our industry changed? It's interesting because the technology does advance, but for the most part, toilets have been toilets since they were invented. Not a whole lot of science behind that one. But in general, we are not filling the people who are leaving our industry. The average age of a master plumber in Texas is 58. So if you think you pay a lot for plumbing and those services now, you could potentially pay more if we don't fill that gap. Construction affects us all. I'm sure we were all affected by construction getting here today. It's a problem, and that's what Texas Women in Trades and myself work to solve.
Thank you, Alan. Leslie.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Leslie Cantu. I'm the Vice President of Administration out of Toyotetsu, Texas. I'm representing Advanced Manufacturing. Toyotetsu is a global company. We have 26 plants worldwide. Our location here in San Antonio is located on the Toyota campus. So we make the structure components for the Sequoia, the Tundra, and the Tacomas. Super excited to represent manufacturing and get the word out. I know Mike was asking what's changed with our industry over the last few decades. A lot has changed. And so we're working hard to improve the image of manufacturing, kind of like you were saying with it's not just for men. We're really trying to increase the number of women, the number of minorities, the number of targeted populations, whether it's people with disabilities, justice-involved population, trying to get youth engaged in that. And part of that challenge of getting youth engaged is convincing their parents that manufacturing is an excellent career path choice. And so we're very committed to getting the word out about our industry, bringing the public into our facility to see what it's like, providing opportunities for the youth to come in and job shadow and work experience, and trying to help them understand that it's not just a job, but it's an actual career opportunity with a variety of career paths, not just production, but there are skilled positions, there's administrative positions, there's management positions. That's just scratching the surface of what's available. So excited to be here with you guys today and represent manufacturing.
Thank you, Leslie. John?
Hi, everyone. My name is Johnny Mahalik. I am the Assistant Superintendent at SISD. I support college, career, and military readiness, which also includes our workforce development and college-going programs, but also our adult ed. So we serve about 1,500 adults in our community in supporting them getting their GED, their citizenship, literacy, college readiness. We provide multiple programs along with partnering with Ready to Work and referral of our adults and our families in that area. I am honored to be here representing education and that field in general when it comes to this. We touch this in multiple ways, like all the way down to pre-K to adults, and so we're definitely an integrated part. I appreciate the Commission's work. Your work affects our jobs and our communities, and so it's a tough position for what you guys have to do and what you're having to balance, but it definitely has an impact on our schools. What has not changed in education in 20 years is there's change every day, and so I think it's we're in a world that the priorities seem to waver, like what are we focusing on in education and what we're not. There's a lot of controversy, a lot of our social issues end up around what's going on in the education system. And so we really do represent the heart of what's happening out there politically, socially. We feel those effects coming out of that. I think, I would say just looking at the last 5 years and what COVID has put into education, it has changed the way we have educated students, the way we look at education, actually in so many ways positively in the way we're trying to support students in a social emotional way, how we support our families. I would believe 20 years ago we never really talked about how to support parents. That's a big part of every conversation and every part of our enterprise. And so how do we support our community and how do we engage in our community? And SISD, along with many of the school districts, do work very hard to do that. And so that's been a big part of San Antonio ISD, is that we just don't focus on our students, but we also focus on our families and our business partners and our industry community that is part of this community.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Let's jump in. So, Ready to Work. High-level overview of the program that all these phenomenal employers are connected to. It was overwhelmingly approved by San Antonio voters in 2020, height of the pandemic. 77% of the voters said yes, let's invest in upskilling, educating, and reskilling individuals so they can earn more money, which is what the program is all about. Equipping you with the skills that you need to earn a living wage to take care of yourselves and your family. So it's going to be over $200 million invested. We're going to train over 28,000 people. There's over 360 employers who pledged their support to the program already, and it's a win-win for the economy, which is why the program exists. It addresses systemic income inequalities and education inequalities at the same time. We want to help our local employers so they can get the talent they need to grow and expand their businesses. And the people who are going to be impacted for this are going to feel those effects for generations to come. It's truly a community-wide initiative. Happy to say that we work with Mark Capona and Pete Alonso to form a partnership with the Housing Trust to bring Ready to Work where the people are who need it most. And that's one of the key pieces of this program, to make sure that there's no wrong door, people have access to the support, because this is their dollars that are helping them to achieve their dreams and their goals. So my first question for everybody here on the panel, and we'll start down there with you, Johnny, since you went last time. Affordable housing, or being able to afford housing, are critical issues within our city today. What can be done from a jobs and workforce development perspective to assist with that challenge?
From a school district perspective, I think it's been really our focus on increasing household wealth and how we do that in the education field. And some examples of that, again, is our investing in our adult ed program. Over $1 million is spent into that program to help support our families. That's just on the education side, not the other community partnerships and other initiatives that we have as a district to try to increase the wealth of our parents so they can afford the housing that they're facing, the cost of housing increases. Some of the other components is that, like, for example, we have construction represented here, manufacturing, and healthcare. We have actually created early college pathways in each of these areas. We have a manufacturing P-Tech, which is an early college program that students are taking starting in 9th grade, a pathway in manufacturing in partnership with St. Philip's College and industry partners like Texas Fame and the manufacturing associations. Same thing in healthcare. We have a nursing program where students will graduate with their associates of nursing. And we have partners with the University Health System, Methodist, and several others, along with San Antonio College, that's helping meet those pathways. On top of that, we have health science in all our high schools. That wasn't there 5 years ago. So we are aligning our career and education programs, our college programming, directed to where those jobs are for our community. An example of kind of where this has caused friction is we used to have several hundred kids in fashion design 5 years ago, and we decided to cancel that program and put health science into those schools that did not have it, IT and cybersecurity programs in all our comprehensive high schools. So we reduced audio video programs in favor of those. And it's been a difficult transition, but it has been something that's been very successful. We have over a couple thousand students in health science pathways. We have about 1,800 kids in cybersecurity and IT pathways now. And so some of that work has been around what is the best use of public funds when it comes to college and career education that would actually get these kids what they needed sooner and faster. If that's bridging them to college faster, if that's putting in pathways where they receive industry certs that they can take into the workforce, if that's aligning to apprenticeships in construction. So we have our first apprenticeship program starting at Sam Houston High School this year that's aligned to the construction industry. We have a P-TECH in construction at Lanier. So we really have been, our North Star has not been to graduate students at SIC, and that's from the school board. Our North Star has been to see them successful as adults and actually monitor that data. So we really are focused on those kind of outcomes. So 46% of our students are graduating with an industry cert at SISD, and many of your other districts are doing the same thing. A lot of your other districts, Southside and Northside, Northeast, all of our districts are working toward that, and you can see that when you go talk to them. And so this is not just an SISD item, it is across our county and city. And so I see that momentum. We have coalitions that are working on how do we get kids 12, 15 hours of dual credit before they leave high school. So how do we get them college ready faster and engaged, because these are non-traditional students that aren't going to college. And when we say college, we're using the college in a very broad term. What is the post-secondary programming for these students at Align? That could be a welding program. That could be an electrical program. That could be becoming a doctor. So we have all those pathways that we try to create for students to have that selection. And we partner with not only the city, but multiple entities across the board. And so I'm going to take off all day if I can.
Hey, you're like me, Johnny. Once you get rolling, it's hard to stop. So, Leslie, same question. How do you do workforce, and how does it impact this housing change?
Right. So from my perspective as an employer, I think it's important that we start to change the mindset of employers to be engaged in being part of the solution. So Johnny was talking about industry advisory committees. My company, we sit on the Highlands High School P-TECH program for manufacturing, aerospace welding, and engineering, to make sure that we also sit on CASTEM as well. And so it's important for us to provide that feedback to the schools, whether it's the K-12 system or whether it's the college system or whoever is helping produce that talent pipeline, to make sure that we're providing real-time information on what's critical to our industry so that there's an output that can fill the needs of employers. So it's important that employers are engaged, providing feedback in a real-time manner, not down the road when things are changing. And advanced manufacturing technology is changing all the time. Things are automated, and we need to make sure that the students that are graduating from high school or from getting with their associate's degree or bachelor's or beyond is meeting the needs that we have in the future, not necessarily the needs for today, but what are we planning for the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. In addition to that, I think it's important that we take a holistic approach. I know Johnny mentioned it and alluded to it earlier, that we're serving beyond just, for us, an employee, but we're serving that entire family. So for us as employers, obviously we want individuals to come to work, be at work all day, help us produce and support our customers. But we also have to understand that they're not robots. They're human beings, and they have external factors that are impacting them, like housing or childcare or other things that make it difficult or impossible to come to work and be focused. And so as an employer, I think it's important that we have the connections to the resources in the community so that we can better support our employees. And so for us, I know it's one thing that we focused on is being a compassionate employer and making sure that our employees know that there's a culture when there is some type of challenge, they can come to us and say, I just got kicked out of my house, I just got evicted from my house or my apartment or whatever, I can't come to work because of that. And so, not for them just to say, I'm not coming to work, but for them to come to us and say, how can you help me? And so it's more than just saying, hey, we have an employee assistance program. Here's a piece of paper. Go figure it out. But how can we connect you to resources? How can we connect you to housing, to childcare, whether it's Workforce Solutions Alma or other community-based organizations? How can we serve that entire family to make sure that they're successful? They're not focused on how do I live? How do I feed my kids? How do I have a roof over my head? But once they take care of those basic needs, then they're able to focus on how do I grow my career, which in turn is a benefit for the employer. We can continue to grow our business and offer more job opportunities.
Thank you, Leslie. Al?
I'm going to be a broken record. Construction needs more workers. That's probably going to be the first answer of all of the answers. We are desperate for more workers. We are completely understaffed as an industry. It takes those construction workers to build new houses, and it takes those workers to repair existing houses. So it's inevitable. They're linked together in a very close, very closely. I think that part of the struggles, right, everyone knows we don't have enough construction workers. So what? What do we do? How do we fix it? I think a big part of that is infrastructure. I think having one that they know that it's an option. We're a big military city, we're a big healthcare city. That's great. You wouldn't have hospitals if we didn't build them, or bases. So it is the root, it is the core of a lot of this commission. Construction and housing is just inevitable together. But the infrastructure needs to be there for these workers. In addition to knowing that it's a viable career path, there needs to be opportunity for them to excel and upskill. It's something we see a lot in our industry. You'll find a 20, 30-year apprentice, not age, they've been doing it for like 20 or 30 years. And they just haven't gotten the resource or employer support, like Leslie was saying, to help them get to that next step, to help them get to that next level, to get their license, so that they can hold that license and then make their own company. So we have more companies that are available to do more of the work, to bid on these jobs and projects. So I think not just infrastructure for the existing worker and for potential workers, but more importantly, we need to look at the people who are already in that industry and really provide them the support as employers, as a city, as workforce development is ready to work, so that they can upskill themselves and become a player in the game and start really engaging with the city in a stronger way and helping to fill that skilled labor gap that we so desperately are suffering from.
Thank you very much, Allie. Andrea, how is University Health supporting the career advancement of entry-level workers in an equitable manner, taking some family-sustaining wages for your employees?
So University Health, remember to turn that on. So University Health does offer a wonderful living wage. It's something that we've increased actually in the last 2 years. We've done it each year. We now offer $17.55 an hour at entry level. And so that's a wonderful opportunity for people to get started into a career. We also offer many career paths and career ladders. And so what that means is you may start as a nursing attendant and go through one of the programs that's offered to become maybe a nursing attendant or a medical assistant, and then become perhaps, we call them a patient care technician, which is an advanced level healthcare worker. And there are so many different types of technicians. There's critical care techs, med-surg techs, instrument techs, and so forth. So there's just so many different opportunities to grow. From there, they can go back to school. They can become a licensed vocational nurse after going to one of the programs for perhaps about a year, and then they can decide if they want to go on and become nurses. So we have people who have started with us literally as a nurse's aide and are now working with us as RNs today. So it's a great opportunity to get started. There are so many other different fields in allied health, respiratory, radiology, rehabilitation, pharmacy. And so the career paths within our organization are very broad. And then going on to, as you mentioned, facilities, maintenance. We need the plumbers too. Protective services, IT. So it's like we're employing a small city there. So we just have a lot of opportunity. When you talked about family-sustaining wages, we kind of call it a total compensation package. So not only are we just offering wonderful wages, we're also offering very affordable medical insurance. I mean, we're the healthcare system, so it's easy for us to offer very affordable medical, which means more money in your pocket and more to pay for your housing and things of that nature. We offer 0 copays for your pharmaceuticals. So you can go and get any of your meds through our pharmacies and pay 0. Wow. So it's very affordable. We offer a very robust benefits package. And then as people are employed with us, they continue on with their education and their development. We offer tuition reimbursement. I started a student loan repayment program a few years back. And surprisingly, the turnover within that program is about 7% lower than the turnover people outside of that program. So once they're involved and they're developing themselves, they're more committed to becoming employers. So, and once they gain that job experience, they can take the additional courses, they can rise, as you said, and they can develop their careers. So, it's a win-win for them.
That's an awesome investment in your people. We love to see that in our employers here locally. Leslie, I'm going to jump back over to you, and I want you to put another hat on for me as chair of the local workforce board, Workforce Solutions Alamo. Can you give us some context on local employment and wages here in San Antonio?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at some very recent data from August, for our particular area, I'll take San Antonio. So for the month of July, we had an unemployment rate of 4.2%. This month, for August, it's up slightly to 4.3%. For our entire workforce development area, which is 13 regions and 13 county regions, it's about 4.2. So we're lower than the state average of about 4.5. So to give you an idea, that's about a little over, for our metro area, about 55,000 people that are looking for employment. Median household income for San Antonio is about $62,000. We have 18.6% of residents have a bachelor's degree, about 8.4% hold an associate's degree.
Thank you for that. Gives us some real good background information on what the current state of things are here in San Antonio. So now, as we shift back in the other hat, as a role with Toya Tetsu, can you describe some of the staffing shortage challenges that you all have seen and are facing for entry-level and mid-level positions, what the wages look like in those roles, and how that changed over time, and what are you guys doing in a creative manner to address some of those shortages?
So to kind of give you a bigger nationwide picture before I bring it back home to San Antonio, in 2021, the Manufacturing Institute out of Washington, D.C., in partnership with Deloitte, conducted a study to have a better understanding of what a critical skills gap was going to look like for us. And they're predicting that by 2030, we'll have about 2.1 million vacancies in the manufacturing industry. That's, just to put it bluntly, is a crisis for our industry. It's critical that we fill those positions, not only our entry-level production positions, but also our mid-skill, what we call multi-skill technician positions, which require basically an associate's level degree. In partnership with Ready to Work and with Greater SATX, the Talent Pipeline Management Initiative, we've been extremely involved in that. There's about 13 employers that have been involved in this since, I believe we started in 21. Yep. So we've been working on this for a while. Out of the 13 employers that have been engaged since the beginning, so that's a tiny little snapshot into our region. So we have about 51 or 55,000 people in the San Antonio area that work in manufacturing. So out of 13 employers, we're predicting in the next 2 years that we need 428 skilled maintenance technicians for 13 employers. The next one doesn't scare you, it scares me. Entry-level positions in the next 2 years, we need 11,000 for 13 employers. And again, we have over 50,000 people in San Antonio that are in that industry. So as I mentioned before, it's critical that that more manufacturers, more employers are engaged in being part of the solution. And so I know Johnny commented earlier, you may have heard him say Texas FAME. So FAME is an initiative that started in Kentucky and is now all over the United States. It stands for the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Education, and it's a partnership. We are a local chapter. We started in 2016. We're the very first chapter in the state of Texas, and that is a collaboration between Alamo colleges, Bexar County, and local manufacturers to train people to fill these skilled positions. And so it's important that we're putting individuals through these training programs, sponsoring them, and filling those positions. So an idea of what our skills, what the positions pay. So our entry level starts at about anywhere from $16.75 up to $22.75. Our mid-skill level starts about $26.25 up to $33.75. Engineers are starting close to six figures. And our engineers, what we try to do, we feel very strongly in internal growth. So we're growing production team members into the mid-skill, multi-skilled technicians. We're growing our multi-skilled technicians into engineers. And we're taking from those different career pathways to grow our management team.
Outstanding. Thank you, Leslie. Johnny, education. And we know there's more than teachers, but you guys have some serious shortages that have been very public here recently. Can you talk about some of the challenges you're all seeing in education for staff?
Yeah, I think almost in every sector of education, from the accounting department to the nurses that we need in the nursing department to, of course, our educators and instructional assistants, especially in areas of math, science, special education, even career and technical education, we have shortages in. We have always been in an industry, if you go back 20, 30 years and look at the history of education, we've always fought the need to have more educators and so forth, but this is probably the worst that it's been, at least in my career, seeing on trying to recruit people. And I think it's because there's a lot of opportunity out there, and inflation and some other factors that are keeping us to be able to really increase salaries to meet that inflation rate. Several school districts have spent a lot of time digging in to their budgets and providing raises across the city. We provided 4% for our beginning teachers, all the way to 9% to our most experienced teachers, so we could actually spread out that compression of what teachers get every year as they increase their tenure. So we've been trying to increase that, and that was one of our largest pay raises historically in SISD, to try to keep that. That had to come out internally, as you know from the legislature. We didn't get that money. We didn't get the funds. And so when you look at how we're funding education as a state, it is a big issue. And we are not funding per pupil at the rate that most states in the United States are funding. So it is a big challenge for us to balance out the budget and predict the next 5 years of enrollment, which is also a factor, and housing has a big factor to that. I actually shared a study with Mike that hopefully will come to the stakeholders that kind of, we did an analysis of our housing in our district and how it is outpricing. The values are pushing families out, and how different building types are being built in replace of that. And so hopefully you can see that is affecting our enrollment, which is affecting our schools, where we have a proposal in front of our board to reduce the number of schools so we can consolidate resources. We've lost 19,000 students in the last 20 years.
Wow.
And so that affects our teacher ratios. That affects a lot of this. It's a lot of moving parts to this. But to get back to the topic, we provide the raises. We have restructured back 20 years ago. If I was a teacher who was expected to work 80 hours, that's not the expectation of our workforce today. They want to get paid for that 80 hours. They want to get paid for that work, which is legitimate. And so we've had to restructure how we fund, how we do PD after hours, how we have to ask for tutoring services for, to support our students that need that extra time. So it has been a total restructuring. It's also, again, a focus on SEL when it comes to our teachers. how can we provide services that would support their emotional and learning needs also. And so it's a big component of that. It's not just about pay, right? And so we're working really hard with our teachers to get their input on how we can improve their working environment, and so we can attract the best teachers across the region. I think every school district is approaching it in that direction also.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. Those are some alarming stats. Thank you for that insight, especially on how housing is impacting your enrollment and what that means, the trickle-down impact of that for the district. Allie, we've talked a lot about some challenges. Let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about some solutions and some things that maybe we can do from a workforce development perspective to help to assist. So how are women in trades embracing women in the field, and how are you involved and engaged with Ready to Work in order to put women on the pathway to higher earnings?
We try to stay engaged. Women in trades, our work is very much mentor-based, helping people find the right trade for them. It's not like trying to get a job as a secretary or admin assistant or in computers or a regular desk job. You're making a very large commitment. So a little bit about our industry, it's vast. So I speak a lot about plumbing because I know a lot about it. I also co-owned and ran an HVAC company for a few years. Electrical is very similar, carpentry, all of these are skilled trades, sheet metal workers. So it's an incredibly vast industry, and it is very heavily focused on apprenticeship. And it has been since its conception. Jesus was an apprentice. He was a carpenter. His dad was a carpenter. Jesus was a carpenter. He would have been a carpenter. So it's a system that works. It's a model that works. We just need to improve the model and making sure that those apprentices are reaching those next levels. The pay in our industry is pretty great. As an apprentice, I'm hiring for apprentices right now, no skill, $18 to $20 an hour, and we work at least 40 to 50 hours a week. For plumbers, they can make $25 to $35 an hour, plus. So it's a really fantastic industry. However, it is a commitment, just like college. So the apprenticeship for plumbing, for example, lasts for 4 years. And in that time, you have the option to also do schooling, right? Because there is a test at the end of that 4 years, so you can get your journey worker license. After you are a journey worker, you must hold that license before you can apply to be a master, and you must then hold that master to be a responsible master plumber. So to own your own plumbing company, you're putting in about as much time as a doctor. But what you're not putting in are the student loans and student debts. So because we are so desperate for workers, we're offering amazing pay, great benefits. We have to be competitive to get people away from the other industries that they're in. So Women in Trades acknowledges, right, that that's the state of our world. So we work very actively. I personally have worked actively on a national level with an organization called the National Tradeswomen Task Force, which is a task force of organizations like Texas Women in Trades, but all across the country. So we're fledgling, we're new, but there are organizations who have been doing this work for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And why recreate the wheel, right? They've got it figured out. So we work a lot with those organizations within our industry to not repeat the same issues and to try and find best practices. We also serve as a stakeholder for many of the federal offices, the OFCCP, which is the Office of Federal Contracts and Compliance. If you have a federal project, you are under the OFCCP's purview, and you must have 6.9% women on that job, or you are not in compliance. A lot of those contractors throw up their hands and say, well, we don't have the workers, oh well. And the OFCCP turns around and says, well, we've got this organization, Texas Women in Trades, you need to talk to them, and you need to get into compliance. You need to figure out why you're not finding these workers and these women. Additionally, we are part of the Good Jobs, Great Cities initiative that's in partnership, I think, with 16 cities. San Antonio was one of the ones selected, so I worked with you, Mike Ramsey, and with a bunch of other wonderful people, some in this room, on working with other cities across the country who are struggling with the same issues. Some of them have solved these problems, some of them haven't, but it's the same problem across the board. So really creating a community of people who are also experiencing the same challenges has been very helpful, because then it's not one person, it's not one organization, it's a collective who are collectively trying to solve this national problem. If we're all working in little clusters on our own, we might help San Antonio, but we're not helping Texas, the state, the world, right? So really using a community effort has been great. I serve on a few boards. I serve on the Small Business Advisory Committee as Mayor Ron's appointee. I've also recently been appointed to the Ready to Work Committee to share just the best practices that we found, what works on how to recruit women, how to recruit young people, how to recruit people of color into these industries and close that gap. So again, I try to stay involved.
Thank you, Alan. This is our last panel question. I know we're right at time, right?
We are, and I may want to give the commission a few minutes to ask questions. So, yeah, thank you.
We'll pause there.
Okay. Oh, you have one more. Yeah, okay, let's open it up for questions if that works for you, because I think we're all we have so many ideas, and I'm so grateful you all came out because the screens just went black.
I touched the laptop, so that did it.
Okay. Well, what I wanted, one comment I had was just, well, thank you, first of all, for all the work you do, and it's great to see you all working as a system and coordinating with each other, and education and employment need to be coordinated, and I just keep thinking about how do we work together on employment and housing and what those goals should look like. So just for example, looking at what those entry-level salaries are we comparing those to the average one-bedroom apartment cost in San Antonio to make sure that they're spending less than 30% of their income on rent so that it's affordable? We're kind of looking at that holistically as far as what our goals should be, because on the one hand, you need more housing developed that's affordable, and then the wages have to also make the housing affordable. So I'm really excited that we had this conversation today leading into our retreat, so we can think also about those that are experiencing housing instability, homelessness. How can we get them ready and over to these programs that you offer? Because many of them have skills, have experience, have fallen on hard times, or with the support of our nonprofit partners to be very successful working with all of you as well. So I look forward to continuing to engage with you all and thinking about how do we make housing affordable by looking at housing and employment. Commissioner Johnson, I know you have. Okay, great.
Thank you. I'm about to bust at the seams listening to you all speak. Thank you for the questions that you asked. You all touched the community activist in me. You all touched me in so many ways, hearing your passion, because what I hear you say is you're making the family ready to work by making the whole person ready to work. So I have just two questions. The first question is, all of you mentioned different demographics that you're hoping to reach out to. So the community activist me wants to know, how are you reaching out to the community? What is that information campaign like to let them know that you offer all of these things that they come in and play with you?
So from a healthcare perspective, we're on every job board. We're on every job board. We're having job fairs. We've already had over 100 job fairs this year. We're just constantly advertising and getting out to some of the schools and having job fairs and interview days. Some of them are at our business center, which are very large scale. Some of them are small and they're on the unit, and we're just doing back-to-back interviews and things like that. So we're really everything from geo-fencing to media ads to paper ads, every single thing that we can do, we're actually doing.
And in this, are you informing them of all the things like you let us know that you offer today? Or is it just we have this job opening available?
Well, that's a good question. Some of our job fairs are very large and broader, but some of them are more targeted. And so we might be looking for the plumber that day, and so we're having targeted interview days just for that, or we're just looking for an administrative assistance or protective services. So we offer both. When we meet with them, we're typically giving them our whole benefits package. We're telling them, this is what the pay ranges look like. These are what your career growth opportunities look like once you get started in the career. Because I think that's what they want to hear. They want to learn about how they can grow within any organization. They want to know that they can start, but that they have opportunity for promotion. So many of our employees want to learn and grow. And sometimes they're not always seeking promotion. They just want to develop and grow, sometimes just within their career. We have some people that have been a staff nurse 1 for 20 years, and they're very happy being a staff nurse 1. But then we have others that want to be a 2 and a 3 and a patient care coordinator and get on into leadership. So a variety of things like that.
If I can just build on that. So for Toyo Tetsu, we've taken more of a targeted approach. So there are two, I guess, relatively recent, over the last 5 years or so, 2 targeted populations that we're very passionate about. The first one is justice involved. And so we started our initiative back in 2018, wanting to offer fair chance employment for individuals that were incarcerated or maybe not incarcerated, have some type of criminal background record that is preventing them from finding employment at a sustaining family wage. And so we knew that we're not experts in that area. We're experts in making car parts. So we knew that we needed to go out and find the community experts that know where to find that population, how to work and serve that population. And so it was key for us. We started off with the Bexar County Reentry Center, adult probation, pretrial diversion. That was kind of our first focus areas, working on them. And then figuring out who are those partners in the community that can provide those holistic services. And so we started offering what we called information sessions, where parole officers, probation officers, case managers would refer them over to our information sessions. All the partners would be in the room. We talk about manufacturing and what that career path looked like. We talk about wages and benefits. And then the partners talked about their expertise, services they can provide, connections to housing and to child care, connections to transportation. And so they knew that we were there to support them holistically. And so we've had tremendous success working with the second chance population. And one thing that we're extremely proud of is we've been able to grow that from one employer, one industry. We have partnered with Chrysalis Ministries. They've taken over the management because once we started opening it up to other employers, it was more than one employer could manage. So we went from one employer to 4 employers. Now we have 8 manufacturers, and I'm extremely excited to say that we're getting ready to roll it out to construction and to hospitality as well. So I think it's about providing opportunities, not just how can I fill my role in manufacturing, but how can we provide true opportunities to individuals that need second chances. And then we're starting the same model, slightly tweaked with individuals with disabilities. So we've started internships. We started at the end of 2021. We've had 2 cohorts. And again, we're bringing those experts to the table. We're targeting information sessions. We're targeting the whole family to make sure that we can help support them. At the same time, it creates an amazing talent pipeline for us.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. I think we have time for one more question from Commissioner Davila.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you being here to present to us and recognizing how our sectors really overlap and influence one another. And a lot of times in work around affordable housing, you hear about how the impact of housing stability on patient health. And doctors have said in a couple of different studies, I wish I could write a prescription for affordable housing. And I've heard the same thing about education, that teachers wish that they could connect their students to better quality housing. And so I'd like to suggest and really challenge all of us as a group to look at how can these different employment sectors be champions of housing affordability in our community. There's a lot of folks that have a negative connotation around housing affordability and a lot of othering that happens, that it's those people and it's out of touch. And clearly the folks that would be served in an affordable housing community would be the staff that you're trying to train and hire. So I really think that we've got to work more in a more integrated way with the employment sector to champion affordable housing. And then I just wanted to, I think it was Ms. Perez that was talking about the trades, and I can say for Merced Housing Texas, we are always looking for quality contractors to do repairs on homes and to meet our contract obligations. So if there are contractors that we can collaborate on and get them put to work, that would be great, because we've got a need for sure.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for this presentation. And again, the timing could not be better as we think about our work as a commission over the next year, our work plan. And I love what you said about, we all have a common interest in housing being affordable for people in San Antonio and for our staff. So if we can work together, we just appointed new members to our public engagement and outreach committee. That's part of what we'll be talking about at our retreat is how do we get the message out there and updated information, because $35,000 isn't what it was even 5 years ago, right? It's as far as what you can afford with housing. And so getting everyone to see this is a common issue for all of us, and we'd love to engage with you all on that and work together moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for having us. It was great.
Thank you. Appreciate you all. Okay, now we are coming back to item 5. We have a briefing and discussion on the home maintenance workshop led by the Local Initiative Support Corporation, or LISC. We have Lori Hall.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Can you hear me okay? No. How about now? Yes. All right. All right, I'll hurry because I know you've been there all day and you've got a lot going on. So let's see. That is not my house. Let's go back.
Item 4.
Yeah, it was 4.
Everybody close your eyes so you don't see this.
We see nothing. All right, now let's start. So I'm here to talk about a home maintenance workshop that's been developed. I'm with the Local Initiative Support Corporation. It's a national nonprofit. The mothership is in New York City. We have an office here in San Antonio. And our goal is to work locally with local nonprofits to help them be better at what they do. There's 37 of them across the country, and San Antonio has an office here. And we work with persons one-on-one, which you're going to hear about today. We also work with organizations, and we try to change systems, disrupt systems that aren't working with us, right? My background is I used to be a city employee, worked here for many years, operated and implemented some housing programs. I've also run a couple of local housing nonprofits, and I also had this side job that thankfully my past employers allowed me to do, which is serve as a national trainer for the Works America intermediary. And so we have a problem. Back when I was a city employee and was implementing federally funded housing programs, we had all this money to go out and to help people fix their homes, but many of them didn't know how to maintain their homes. And we just didn't have the capacity at that time to figure out how to solve that problem. And we knew they needed it. So that answer then is I just tried to hire a really friendly construction specialists that could have those kind of conversations with people out in the field, and I'd often make code compliance and others mad because I approached the people that, that was the world we lived in. So an opportunity came up, and I want to throw a lot of kudos to Veronica Garcia, who made the decision to do business differently here in San Antonio. And so I approached her with the idea of doing a home maintenance workshop for everyone who receives the benefit of a grant from the city to rehab their homes. And so I said, look, you've got a trainer right here in San Antonio. I'd love to do what I teach. How about we come up with a class? And she was very interested in that and real. So we worked together. And I talked first with a couple of people who went through the rehab program here in San Antonio, used it as a focus group. And I said, what do you wish you would have known? What do you need to know? And how can we deliver that in a way that you would attend the class? And who do you want to listen to that? And so they gave me a lot of great feedback, and we came up with the solution of a 4-hour home maintenance workshop that would cover everything from financial topics to home maintenance topics to disaster preparedness to home safety, fire and home safety. So here is our model. We have Kristen Javela, who sits on your commission, offered her staff for nonprofit housing. She's a nonprofit housing provider. She has 3 rehab specialists out in the field who serve as the part of the training for the home maintenance commission. And these are folks that every day just go out and help people with their homes. But they took on the challenge of learning how to be trainers, how to use adult teaching techniques. And they did a great job. They have become really good, sharp trainers, and want to give them a lot of credit. Folks like the Robert Wainwright, who you see here in the fire department, he does this all day, every day. He's training his trainer. So James Mendez, who you see here with the Office of Emergency Services. So we picked these 3 areas because these are our professionals in each of them that can speak to home maintenance, can speak to fire safety, and can speak to disaster preparedness. So what do we provide? Well, we provide something called Keeping the Air and Dream. It's a book I wrote for the average homeowner. I wrote it for Labor Works America. I'm saying all of this because I probably didn't negotiate the best contract for the nonprofit work. And so, and whether they sell 100 or 10,000 of these, I get paid once. And so I wanted you to know that I'm not promoting a book that I wrote to promote the book. It's for the greater good. It's for the nonprofit. So I brought copies for all of you, and we're going to pass those out to see what the maintenance recipients receive. There's a couple of Spanish ones, there's a couple of they're all together. So I wanted you to see that they get this book. We put a notebook together that has everything from referral information, drawings, pamphlets. We also have the city property tax packet, those great meetings that you hold, those public meetings that you hold that are so valuable and that people are going to, they're flocking to, and you're turning 100 people away. We include those. And we also have demonstration tables, large posters, we provide some snacks, paper, etc. Light clicker doesn't want to work, somebody can click them. There you go. We cover some financial management messaging. I deliver that. I talk a little bit about property tax and avoiding IDs, tax predatory businesses that are out there. The importance of record keeping, passwords, and transfer on debt keys. That's our friend here, Crystal, for example, from LISC. We talk a lot about the services at LISC. And what's interesting is that NHSC really encourages a lot of these homeowners to bring their kids with them. And when I start talking about the need for a will and the transfer on debt keys, all the kids in the audience are going like this and pointing at their parents like, go, talk to my parents about having a transfer on debt key or will. So they really appreciate getting that information, and we share the good work that is in this area. All right, I work with the gym. If you guys advance my slide. We also have some 560 messaging, and it's, we talk about home maintenance messaging, we talk about all the operations in the home. How do you turn off electricity, water, gas? We talk about preventative maintenance. We talk about, you changed my slide. Okay. And then we talk about fire safety. So we have some more carbon monoxide detectors, educating family members, emergency contact, heaters, warnings, medications, and poisons, etc. I do want to say, back to home maintenance, a lot of these families are receiving a central air and heat system for the very first time. Many of them have had maybe a air conditioning unit in their house, so they need to know how to operate this. So we provide and do a section on how do you operate an HVAC system, everything from the filters to how often you should have somebody come out and do that. Okay, back to fire safety. Yeah, we're good there. Let's go to the next one. So fire safety in the home very big. You know, the fire guys are so good at this, and the biggest messaging, believe it or not, they're passing along are things like this, that grandmothers and grandfathers need to be talking to their grandkids. That the biggest problem they run into is that the grandkid doesn't know grandmother's name, doesn't know the address of their home. And so that's a huge safety issue when they call 911 and they can't say the grandmother's name, first or last name, they can't say the address. So that kind of information is getting out there, which is really good. That's the experiments we all went through, Yuri, right? The snow and ice, and we all had to learn how to shelter in place. We all got a lesson on that. So many of these homeowners share how they got through that, but we also share with them how they can better prepare for the next Yuri storm. So they get an amazing freebie. It's this bag from the Office of Emergency Management. It's called Texas Ready. They get a phone charger, a first aid kit, and a bunch of other goodies that come in that bag. And so then we talk a lot about if they are working with an individual who may be on oxygen in their home or who is anyway compromised via health issues, that they need to get registered through the state Texas Emergency Assistance Registry. That means that the emergency folks will go to them when there is an emergency. They will seek them out. So if there's a flood in that area, a tornado or whatever, and they know that there's people there relying on an oxygen tank, they will go find them. So we talk a lot about the importance of registering for that. And we talk about disaster on the go. You may have to leave your home. How do you do that? What do you do with your important documents? And you also may have to shelter in place and talk about what you need to prepare to do that. All right, we're back on track. We are. Okay. So we do evaluations, and they love the workshops. We adapt it as we go. After every class, we look at the evaluations, we talk to the training team, and for instance, I'll give you the biggest example of where we've expanded is, believe it or not, on the sexy topic of foundation. And people want to know more about how to maintain their foundation. And we did not expect that, so we have expanded this section quite a bit. And people want to know how to operate their home. They like being empowered. And so the class is going over great guns. We haven't gotten a bad rap yet. Not one evaluation that says, I didn't like the class, I didn't want to, not one. I've been a trainer for 20 years. I wish I could say that. There's always one person. But not in the class. They are really like it. They want more hands-on. And we are impacting a 4-hour class as much as possible. So we are trying to do a little more and expand the housing and the hands-on. People want to practice on somebody else's faucet before they fix their own. And so you question. You heard from the folks over here just a minute ago that there's a shortage in construction folks. Those folks are all going to the higher cost jobs in the city. That means our more moderate homeowners are competing for contractors to do work on their homes. They can't always access it. This class is a way to help empower them. And it's also a way that if they do hire a contractor, as we say in Texas, they'll be able to write her over that contract and kind of understand and make sure the contractor's doing what they're supposed to do. So, great feedback. We continue to get that feedback. There'll be time to do some follow-up about a year to find out how many of them actually use what we're teaching. But we find that this is a very empowering class. When I teach at a national level and teach housing counselors, we teach how to fix drywall. We teach that in this class. How do you fix drywall? And somebody will roll up to us 3 months later, 6 months later, and say, oh, by the way, I went home and drywalled my basement. I didn't teach them that, but they get empowered, and they get enough knowledge that they go and they take it and via YouTube, HGTV, the do-it-yourself movement that's going on in the country, especially following COVID. This has become very, very popular, and people are seeking out ways. Go talk to the Habitat Restored during and after COVID. Oh my goodness, everybody was stuck in their home for 2 years. They all need to install the repairs around them that we need to get. So the Habitat Restored is a booming business during that time. So it's very popular. I think it's not, I think, Ron has the foresight to do it here for the rehab recipients. This is something happening every homeowner could use. And so we'd love to see this class go beyond that, and hopefully we can work with Kristen and folks that were said and figure out how to expand it. We've already had some drop-ins, people from the Health Collaborative who see our class being done at the Neighborhood Resource Center that drop by and say, hey, can we talk about how to get that out in the community? And we're already talking to the Office of Sustainability about how to take this class and maybe expand it in that area. So thank you for having me today. It's been a pleasure, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Lori. This is fantastic, and I love that you're thinking about how to sustain the housing after it's been rehabilitated, or for those that own their homes for years, so that we can maintain that affordability that we have. And I also love that you got input directly from people who've been through the program. I think that's always key to have, and the results speak for themselves, right? So just one quick question, well, maybe two. Is this specifically targeted right now to those who have been through the rehab program? Is that the scope currently? Okay.
Yes, so that they understand all the work that's being done with their home, right? So that they will understand how to do the preventative maintenance following that huge investment into their home, because it's a substantial rehab program. They're putting a great deal of funds into a home and into that asset. And as part of that, the city can put the insight to say we need to teach them how to maintain that investment. And so they love it. They like doing that. And so it's working out well.
That's great. And then I'll let other commissioners weigh in if they have questions. But I'm just curious also with this book or these resources, I could see them being beneficial for lots of people going through our housing programs. So what's the best way to access these, or we can do a follow-up?
NeighborWorks America sells those for, I think, $17 or $18. It is, again, this is a nonprofit. This is the third edition of the book that I've helped write. And we write it for the average homeowner. As the young lady said over here on the panel, toilets are toilets, and they are. There's not anything in the book that, new. It's just organized and written for the average homeowner so that they understand how to maintain their home once they're in it. So it's for the new homeowner, it's for the existing homeowner. The idea is to just have a resource book that's written for them to help them. We have a lot of tips in there and try to focus in on just mostly preventative maintenance so that people can save money. If you do that preventative maintenance, it will save you from having to do those repairs and improvements, and then later those really expensive home improvements. So we mostly just teach how to maintain what you have so you can save money. If many of our people in our audience are below and moderate income homeowners who don't have a lot of discretionary money to do this, so we try to teach them to do as much as possible. Really. So they work in America, to answer your question. Mr. England?
Yes, thank you for being here today in your presentation. And unfortunately, our society has become so quick to be negative on things. And I can hear people say, well, you've done this and given them this free rehab and all those things like that. They'll just hear that type of thing. So this is not a negative. Thank you for being there, and so we can tell people that not only have we helped them rehab their home, but we showed them how to maintain it too. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. It's very empowering. People really do want to know this. They just haven't had the access. They haven't had the opportunity to get that, and so they really appreciate it. Where?
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to mention that Lori's program, or this program, I should say, is a part of Operation Rebuild, demolition diversion program, and just the impact it's had. I mean, you have the whole family going to these events, and it's, I think that's really a big piece to it, because it's not just the mom or or is by herself necessarily, but you have more people in the family that are involved. I think that's a key piece. And I think the other thing, we're so fortunate that we have Lori Hall as a national trainer in San Antonio. In our country, there's not many people that have that, and she's not going to toot her own horn, but I'm going to toot her horn and say that she's really good at this, has been doing it a long time. And I'm glad that she's now working at, continuing locally, but working at systems level to bring this to a lot of different systems, because everything that's in here, everybody can use. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson? I have a question. I have a comment. I'm going to help you toot her horn. I don't know you, but I've heard about you and listening to you today and flipping through this book. You and whoever wrote this book, this is amazing. I wish you could get paid for every single book. I know that you are doing this for those that are receiving funding, but that every homeowner could get this book at signing. I was flipping through it. You have everything from checklists to how-to questions that people are asking, and then you give the answer. Can I just say kudos to you and your passion, which is so evident. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for seeing the need, because if people are reaching out because they need help repairing their homes, obviously they didn't know how to repair it, right? So thank you for seeing that need. Thank you for allowing her to do these maintenance classes. I think Mark just said that the whole family's involved, which excites me even more, because even if the children come, they can hear preventive things that they could do in ways that they can help the home, not force-save maintenance. But thank you so much. I love this book. I'm in an apartment, but I promise you I'm holding on to this book. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, and it applies to renters as well. And, we have programs are the hardest to administer. So look over at Andy. She probably dreams.
I love Andy.
Those are the top of the programs that you are dealing with, the largest client that there is. So hopefully this is supportive of her efforts because trust that she has. I used to do that job. That is a tough job. It's hard enough just to get the construction right and get the money out the door with all those rules attached to it. But then you're with a homeowner who's now looking around going, what's next? So hopefully we're helping with that. What is next? And eliminating some of her headache.
Thank you, and Annie, you are amazing too, so thank you.
Lori gets all the credit here. Thank you, Lori.
Okay, Commissioner Della?
Thank you. I also wanted to give kudos to Lori. I know that she's been working very closely with our team and they really enjoy doing these workshops, and they are very, very well thought out, as you pointed out, Nikki. There's a lot of systems that we're putting in place in homes that homeowners have never had before. Particularly central HVAC systems, not knowing that you need to change your filter every month, not knowing how to clean out the drain line, those types of things, or even how to work a thermostat. These are all learning curves, and so it's really crucial to have these classes. So thank you very much for the work you put into this, Lori.
Thank you. Your team is great. You know, these guys, they're field personnel. They're not used to standing and delivering. And so they have become really good trainers. They're like becoming hands now. They like people. So it's so fun to see, and they're doing a really great job.
Thank you, Lori. I think they're pretty great too.
Veronica, do you have a comment?
Yes, just really quickly want to definitely echo the kudos for Lori Hall and Liz San Antonio and Kristen as well, and the whole Merced team. They really, they're right. We spend a lot of money every year on home rehab. We have a lot of families that we help. Our focus for a long time has been the rehab of the home. And we get a lot of homeowners who do have questions post-rehab about, you know, I can't get the AC to work. I don't know what happened here. Did you guys do something wrong? And so we found we're spending a lot of time helping families post-rehab, even though we do our best to educate on the front end, but it is a big process. It is overwhelming. I've been to a turnover before, and the contractor's like, then you pour vinegar down the drain, and you pour here, and they're like, oh my God, look at I'm the blue, you know? And so it's just a lot of information for them at one time, and we found that the class has been really helpful. And it reminds me of when we were talking to our main funder of this effort, which is HUD. And we were talking about the amount of investment that goes into each and every home, and what is the city doing to ensure that federal and our local dollars are protected, and that home stays affordable and livable for the 20-year commitment. And I was like, that's a great question. So I called the best person I know for this topic, which is Lori Hall, and her team, in partnership with Ann Eaton and Kristen from Merced, all kind of really came together and put the agenda. And it's been a good process so far, and we hope to keep doing them. And Lori's doing a great job of seeing how we can expand that effort and offer it to more homeowners.
It's amazing. Thank you. Okay, and our final agenda item is the director's report with Veronica Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm going to hand it over to Veronica Garcia, Director.
Thank you. So I'll go quickly through the report. I know we're over time, but I really want to acknowledge the property tax help sessions that we just finished up. We just finished up all of our summer sessions, and the team did an amazing job. We had 4 more sessions throughout the summer, well attended. Again, thank you to Commissioner Abraham and several other subcommittee members who continue to volunteer and help at our sessions. It's an ongoing effort with our team as well as our legal aid providers, including San Antonio Legal Services Association and along with Bexar County and our Bexar County tax assessor, all attend the sessions and help provide families on-site assistance to, 1, let them know what exemptions are out there, and then 2, we actually go through the process to help them file for their homestead and other tax exemptions on-site. We do have Spanish and ASL interpretation services at all of our events, and all through the 4 sessions, we had 176 new exemptions filed just over the summer. And then when we look back over that campaign, which started this past February, we actually had a total of 18 in-person events and served over 1,900 homeowners at the events and helped almost 400 people complete their homestead exemptions along with some other exemptions. So it's a really successful effort. Kudos to Sarah Walmsley and the policy team, to our community engagement team. She just stepped out, Steve Bonavia Sanchez and Heidi Bell. Just really a team effort to make sure that we had these events.
and they will start up again, taking a much needed break for a little while, but they will start up again in January when we go into our new protest and filing event next year. So also wanted to give an update on our affordable housing gap financing. So every year we put out a competitive solicitation to identify new projects that can help us build new affordable housing and help rehab the affordable housing that's already out there and build new single-family homeownership opportunities. This is an annual effort. We do receive funding from HUD, Home and CDBG funds, to provide funding to developments to help create or rehab affordable housing in our community. And so this year is that process. We will have 2 different competitive solicitations, one to build new multifamily developments and one to build single-family homes. We are following the same criteria and scoring that we used for the housing bond, which combined our federal funding with it last year. So we have a total of just over $8 million to award between the 2 categories, so $4.2 million for rental and the same amount for home ownership. We will have the scoring committee is diverse. We have representatives from our city manager's office, our department, as well as via Metropolitan. I know this commission especially had a lot of questions and wanted to ensure that the affordable housing that we're providing incentives to is connected to public transit, so they are members of our scoring committee. And we also want to make sure that the housing that we are building is sustainable and ongoing affordability, keeping those electric and water usage down for the residents who live there. So we have a member of our Office of Sustainability on the panel as well. And then, of course, this panel is supported by our underwriters and many of our team and staff, including development services staff, to help provide input on the projects that we're reviewing. We'll also add that I just mentioned, this was the same scoring criteria we used for the housing bond solicitations that included federal funds. So the greatest scoring criteria is on affordability. We have 15 points available for development experience. We continue to require that all projects who apply for rental housing have at least 10% of the units for families at making 30% of the area median income or below. So that's about $24,000 for a family of 3 in San Antonio. So really making sure that our new rental housing projects and our rehab projects include units for the most vulnerable in our community. So that's a requirement of even applying to the solicitation. And then for home ownership, we are looking for new single-family homes built for families at 80% of the area median income or below. So really trying to make sure that the housing that we are incentivizing is affordable for our city. Here are a lot of the questions, and again, thank you to the panel who's here today, because this type of work that we're doing really influences so many other parts of our community. So we really want to make sure that we're really looking very keenly at how affordable are the projects that we're helping. All projects that are new construction will also go through our displacement impact assessment, so looking at the project itself and the areas surrounding the project and what impact they may have on the neighborhood and what we can do to mitigate that impact. And then as done last year, nonprofit partners who are applying for the RFP are eligible for up to 10 points. And we do not have any small business or local preference points because this RFP includes all federal funds. So we are in the preliminary process right now. It's just a briefing. We are also briefing. We briefed our audit committee a couple weeks ago. We're briefing our planning committee, development committee tomorrow, and we will be releasing the RFP later this month. It'll be open for just over 45 days. We will collect proposals in mid-November, and we'll be coming back to this commission in January to share with you the proposals that are recommended for approval, and then they will actually go for city council approval in early February. So also want to acknowledge that our city budget was just adopted by council last week, so this goes into effect on October 1. This is a portion of our overall department budget, but this is how much funding is dedicated for all of our different affordable housing programs next year. So looking at $41.2 million. This, as an amendment at the end of the budget season, we had another million, so this is really now $42 million. That other million was for Opportunity Home to get funding for their affordability maintenance fund so they can continue to upkeep the affordable housing that they already have. So this is actually an increase over last year's affordable housing budget, and you can see that we are adding more money to our gap financing, which is what I just mentioned, the competitive solicitations we're putting out later this month, so we were able to increase the amount of funding that's available this year. We're adding a little bit more for our eviction prevention efforts and our rental assistance, and we also were able to increase the amount of funding that goes towards our down payment assistance program, really making sure that people have the assistance they need to help purchase new affordable homes in San Antonio. And we're talking a lot about home rehab today, so everyone's always very interested to know when we're going to reopen the application window. So that will open on October 20th, and we had a really strong effort last year, lots of in-person sessions helping people apply for home rehab. We learned a lot from that process. It was a lot of people came, and what we have learned is we really need to spend time before the application opens, really getting information sessions into the community so people understand what are they going to need to apply, what does it even mean to go through the home rehab program, what are the qualifications. So we'll be having 9 information sessions throughout the community. They're only about an hour and a half long, so really people can come and get the information they need, so they will have information on how they can apply. And then we'll have 3 nonprofit partners. SAGE is a partner, UTSA, their West Side Community Center, and then the Health Collaborative. All 3 of them will be our nonprofit partners that people can make appointments with to help them actually complete the online application process. And so our upcoming meetings, we have our Housing Commission has their hasn't been annual in a little while, but their upcoming retreat on October 11th, where we'll talk about work plan and goals for the next year. The subcommittees are meeting all through October, and then as mentioned, we will have our Planning Community Development Council Committee tomorrow, and then our next Council A session is on October 5th. That concludes my briefing.
Thank you. Commissioner Alves?
Thank you. I think we talked a little bit about gap financing and so forth. Just from our applications that we've received for next year's local housing tax credit rounds, the gaps are significantly larger than they were this past year. It has to do with increased costs and insurance premiums and how that's impacting properties, as well as increased interest rate costs. So it's not getting any easier to pencil these projects, even with local housing tax credits and so forth. So just something to keep in mind. I think the demand we're looking at, projects where last year they may have been $3 to $5 million, this year they're close to $5 to $7 million gaps. So pretty steep increases this year.
And I have a question about that. So the tax credit applications are March of next year, so is that right? So
no, for the 4% low-income housing tax credits, those applications are due to the Texas Bond Review Board by October 15th to 20th, one of those dates. So I know if any projects that need those tax-exempt bonds, which are required for tax credits, they have to go through that process first. So we've received a substantial number of applications. We'll be bringing those to our board on Friday. If the board approves those, they'll move on to applying for bonds, essentially.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering how this gap financing is coordinated with that timeline so the projects can work. So thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
I have a question for you, Veronica, or maybe Anderson. So I volunteered at several of the home rehab events to help get families signed up. One of the largest ones, I cannot remember the name of the library. You already know what I'm talking about. We had people that waited in line for hours, but by the time they got to us and we put their address in, their address didn't qualify, like they were outside of the city limits. The city limits. Where are my words? Thank you. So is there a way when you're doing the information campaigns beforehand that they can find out then, or can they go somewhere and put in their address like we were doing? That way they're not waiting in line for hours only to find out they can't even be assisted. Because that was one of the hardest things to tell people.
As Anne comes up to the microphone, the answer is yes. Valerie can more elaborate answer, detailed answer. And that is one of the lessons we learned is those application sessions were so popular, and we staffed up like crazy. We had nonprofits helping, we had commissioners helping us, and we still had people waiting for hours. So what we're taking a different approach this year with the information sessions, so we can get some of those eligibility criteria understood, questions answered, and then they can, we'll have our nonprofits at these sessions so they can go ahead and just make appointments with whichever one is closest to them at a time that works for them versus waiting and waiting and waiting.
Thank you.
Yes.
And just to add, hi, Ann Eaton, Housing Production Administrator. Just to add to that comment, yes, Commissioner Johnson, we wanted to really take away what lessons did we learn? How do we help people prepare? And we don't want people waiting hours and then not being able to apply. So we can certainly, we have plenty of staff volunteers, so we can have someone to run addresses if someone has a question. That's something we can do. We're also working on finalizing, we're preparing to give everyone a collateral packet that has everything that we're going to share in writing in English and Spanish so that they can take that home, work with their families to get their documents together. It's going to have a checklist on the back saying, okay, what documents do I need to get together? So then they don't show up with a nonprofit partner and then they're not ready. It also helps our nonprofits, right? Because we know they have limited resources. So when someone schedules an appointment, they have that checklist. So we'll be happy to share all that collateral once it's ready, which hopefully will be in the next few days.
Kudos to you and your team for doing that. Thank you.
I just had one other question for RFP panels for review teams. I was wondering, is there a consistent methodology every time a review panel is put together for projects? And if it might be worth considering adding a resident or someone who's lived in affordable housing or has that lived experience on the panel, that can be really beneficial, not just for the evaluation, but questions to go back and ask the applicant later for things they can incorporate in what they do.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. We do have some standards, like for this particular RFPs, they're high profile, so we have someone from the city manager's office, someone probably from the department. So we have some standards, but we can always add additional members, especially in an advisory capacity, so that we can get those additional thoughts, viewpoints, questions, and feedback as well while reviewing proposals. I know it's been really helpful to have Via on our panels because we will review the proposals and hear a lot about, well, yeah, we're near public transit. And they're like, are they near public transit? And they're like, not really. And so, like, good to know. So having those voices and those, it is very helpful.
Veronica, I think I just mentioned also there's precedent for this because we had members of our Citizens Bond Committee that served on the panels as well. So people with lived experience actually ended up being on the panel. So there is some precedent here.
Thank you. I don't know, I'm sure that doesn't require action, but just I think it'd be helpful and again, help you get to a better end result in what they the project ends up looking like as well. So thanks. Commissioner Abraham?
Again, as chair of the PEO subcommittee, and I'd like to request that we all get a JPEG of the results of the property tax and that, so that we can put it out to the public.
Yes, you want the details on how many people were helped. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of our agenda and we can now adjourn. The time is 1:34 p.m. Thank you all. Great meeting.